it just depends. I mean, if the records survived the war or not. A lot of buildings got destroyed.
Seems like the sort of thing you would destroy if you were taking stuff.
You might, yeah. But I mean, if something is stamped, such and such bank, Shanghai, China, then that's kind of a giveaway.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And actually, the hallmarks do play a small part in our story here in the future.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our next theory. It's real, and somebody has actually found some of it.
Oh.
That's the theory.
Yeah, that is the theory. Yeah. There is some evidence for this theory, unlike our other theories, which are all kind of like not really much evidence, not really any evidence. Yeah. This is Rogelio Rojas, and we're going to tell his story, and it's kind of interesting. There's more information on this one because it was litigated in the 1980s and 90s, and so there's a fair amount of information available for this, and people testified in court and stuff like that.
Oh, so there's legal documentation.
Yeah, there was a lawsuit. Rogelio Rojas was a locksmith in Baguio City, the Philippines, which is on the island of Luzon, which, for all of you who know all about the Philippines, is where Manila also is. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the most populous island in the Philippines. Again, I was too busy researching this to research stuff like that. He, besides being a locksmith, was also a coin collector and a treasure hunter. And in 1961, he met a man named Albert Fuchigami in Baguio City, who was a fellow treasure hunter, and they became friends. Fuchigami was the son of a Filipino woman and a Japanese soldier, and eventually Fuchigami took Rogelio into his confidence and told him that his father had drawn a map identifying the location of one of the treasure troves of Yamashita's gold.
Huh.
Yeah, and he also, around the same time, met this other guy who has an unpronounceable name, who claimed to have served as General Yamashita's interpreter during World War II.
Eusebio Okubo.
Okubo. Yeah, that sounds about right. He told him, this interpreter said that during the war he had been taken to some tunnels controlled by General Yamashita in order to get some silver to pay for food for the troops. And he said he saw boxes of various sizes that contained gold and silver. And also he saw a golden Buddha statue, which was at a convent very, very close by. And so with the clues that he got from this guy and the map that he got from Fuchigami, he partnered up with Fuchigami and they hired some laborers to search for the treasure. They got a permit and everything for it.
Wow.
Yeah, you're supposed to get it because it was on government lands.
Sure.
They were going to be looking.
Oh, yeah, that would be important.
Yeah, it kind of would be. In 1970, they began digging near the Baguio General Hospital in Baguio City. And after 7 months of searching and digging, they broke into a system of tunnels underground. That's a good thing. If you're looking
Usually.
That would be exciting.
Yeah. Inside the tunnel, they found wiring and radios, bayonets, swords, rifles, and a human skeleton wearing a Japanese army uniform. Yeah.
Not to be fair, not that was so uncommon for Japanese soldiers to have tunnels, right?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean,
It's fairly common.
Yeah. So I mean, for hiding in, that kind of thing.
Natural cave systems are great for that.
Yeah. I don't know if this was a natural cave system or what.
Unnatural. I mean, that was a pretty solid part of their warfare strategy, wasn't it? It was tunnels.
Yeah, dig in.
I think a lot of armies do that.
Yeah. So it's not.
Yeah.
Just because the tunnel exists doesn't mean treasure exists.
Doesn't mean it was there for treasure, but they spent about a month in this tunnel, though. Actually, it was a whole series of tunnels, and they explored, and they didn't find anything. And then Rojas got himself a metal detector and went around and got himself a strong signal in one place. They dug a little bit, and they hit concrete, and they hammered through the concrete. I'm not sure how long it took to break through, but
weeks probably.
Yeah, it could be. They found a room below the tunnel, and inside this room, they found a gold Buddha. A solid gold Buddha. Yeah, which was, according to Rojas, about 3 feet in height. It was really heavy. It took 10 men to get it to the surface. They had to use a chain block hoist and ropes, and then they rolled it on logs through the tunnels, apparently. And Rojas guessed it was probably about a metric ton, and he told his men to take it to his house and put it in a closet.
Wait a second.
Yeah, I know.
Wait a second.
What?
Wait.
It takes 10 guys to haul this out of the cave. And he's like, oh yeah, then take it to my house and put it in the closet.
Yeah,
Well, how do you get the rolling logs through your house?
This is unspecified. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, this part of his story mystifies me.
Well, there's other parts that mystify you and that mystify me too. But
Okay.
He did manage to persuade a jury to believe his story.
I know, I know, but
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you. The thing that mystifies me is that he was a treasure hunter who somehow didn't have a metal detector.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had to go out and say, "Oh, I'm gonna go get a metal detector."
Yeah.
And
1970.
use it. But
I'm
in
not-
my mind, like treasure hunters, the staple of treasure hunting is metal detector.
Indiana Jones never had a metal detector on.
He wasn't a treasure hunter.
Yeah, he was.
He kind of was.
He was an adventurer.
Yeah. No, he was an archaeologist.
He was an archaeologist. He had other
Even better reason to have a metal detector, and he didn't.
Yeah. He had an interesting style when it came to archaeology.
Yeah, that was what the whip was.
Just go in and steal some stuff.
Yeah.
Poke the walls.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to, we just
Yeah, we
derailed,
just got way
sorry.
off on the side there.
Yeah. Back at
Rojas.
Yeah, back to Rojas. Rogelio, about 50 feet from where the Buddha was, there was a big stack of boxes. They were stacked 5 or 6 high over an area 6 feet wide and 30 feet long, roughly. And he came back the next day and opened one of the boxes, and it contained 24 bars of gold. And he didn't open any of the other boxes. Now I got
It's
this.
weird to me.
Well, yeah, and I got this from he actually died before this whole thing went to trial, but he gave a deposition before, and so this is from the court's documents. So this is from the mouth of Rogelio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem a bit odd. I mean, I would be if I saw a pile of boxes, I would open them right up.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Maybe there would be snakes in one though.
That's
so
a good point. So I wouldn't open them right
No,
up. Yeah,
you opened one and it was like the right door, right? It was
Yeah.
you chose the right door, so you just stay. You don't
just
open
stay
all
with
the rest of the
that.
doors.
that makes total sense.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I am the one of us that keeps finding all the treasure.
Yeah. And I'm the one that gets bit by snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I screaming like a little girl.
Yeah. About several weeks later, they don't specify exactly in the court documents, he returned because he wanted to seal the tunnel closed. And so he was going to use dynamite to blast it closed for safekeeping of the treasure, right? He returned to shut it. He took the 24 bars of gold then, and also some samurai swords and bayonets and other souvenirs. And some weeks went by after that. This is, by the way, they found the Buddha and the gold on January 24th, 1971.
Okay.
So this is in February when he's blasting the hole shut. And some time went by, and he sold 7 of the gold bars, and he was looking for a buyer for the golden Buddha. And his plan was to raise funds to go back and get the rest of the gold bars, which, okay. That's a strategy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess sell a small amount of treasure to fund getting the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Because
Yeah.
it'd be heavy. You would need a lot of
Oh,
stuff.
you need a lot of manpower.
Yeah.
Yeah. In April 71, he showed the Buddha to 2 other people, and then he showed it to a third buyer, a guy named Joe Oyahara, who said he was interested. He said he would come back in several days with $1 million pesos as a down payment. After he left, Rojas got curious about the Buddha, and he took a closer look at it, and he found out that the head was removable. So he got the head off of it, and he looked inside. There was a compartment inside the Buddha that was filled with stones, which looked like uncut diamonds. So he scooped them out. He said there were about 2 handfuls of uncut diamonds inside the Buddha. He put the head back on. He put the diamonds, I guess, in a bag and put them in the closet next to the Buddha. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
This guy's got a great safe system.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, if it took 10 dudes to carry the Buddha out, it's not exactly going to walk up.
But the bag of
walk
diamonds
away.
will.
The bag of
That might-
diamonds I would
yeah.
have taken out in my backyard and buried or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
We know.
Yeah.
We've searched in your backyard. I mean, we've
Yeah.
never dug your
We helped you
backyard
install that patio. We
Yeah.
weren't digging for treasure.
It's booby trapped, by the way, so don't go near it.
Okay.
Yeah. So 4 days after Joe Oihara came over to look at the Buddha, at 2:30 in the morning, 8 men from the Criminal Investigation Service and the National Bureau of Investigation came pounding on the door and demanded to be let in. And they said they had a search warrant. So after Rojas opened the door, these 8 guys come inside. They are wearing military uniforms, and they've got Joe Oihara with them. And they showed him a document that they said was a search warrant. And the soldiers beat on Rojas's brother with their rifles and made the whole family get on the floor. And then when they left, they took the Buddha, also the diamonds, the remaining 17 bars of gold, the samurai swords, a piggy bank belonging to the kids,
That's low.
and his wife's coin collection. So that they
cleaned them out.
Pretty much cleaned them out, yeah. So Rojas reported it to the media and also the local police. He also went to this judge who he knew. His judge's name was Pio Marcos, and he apparently was related to Ferdinand Marcos. I guess at one point Rojas used to work for him, and that's how they knew each other. And also Judge Marcos was the guy that he went to get the permit to dig on state lands.
Okay.
Probably forget to mention that. He had noticed Marcos's signature on the search warrant that the police had showed him, and he asked why he had signed a search warrant, and Marcos said he had no choice because Ferdinand Marcos had ordered it. Text for them coming into the house is Joe Oihara's companion had claimed to have seen the illegal gun in the house. So he filed a complaint. But this guy apparently had connections to Marcos also. So anyway, word had gotten back to Marcos that there was gold and a Buddha and all this stuff.
We all know who Ferdinand Marcos is, but I don't know that all of our listeners do. So you might want to let some people know who we're alluding to here.
Yeah, good point. Ferdinand Marcos was president of the Philippines, I believe, from 1965 to 1986. I know he was deposed in 1986.
Right, I do know that. Yeah.
Yeah, he eventually became supreme dictator and all that stuff. Lots of human rights abuses. Eventually, there was a revolution in 1986, and he was ousted, and he and his wife Imelda of the 800 shoe collection.
Yes, Imelda Marcos.
Shoe pair. So yeah, they went to political asylum in America, and they wound up living in Hawaii.
And that's how we've got all of this, because the lawsuit that you're referencing for this material was filed in Hawaii.
Yeah, it was. Judge Marcos also appeared angry, according to Rojas, that he had reported the case to the police and the media and said that as a result he would likely be killed. So Rojas interpreted that as a threat, so he went into hiding for a little while. And then, not too long after that, April 19th, 1971, the military deposited a Buddha statue with the city court in Baguio City. Apparently the same one. This was in response
I don't quite understand. So what did they do? They put it out front? Or?
No, they took it, they turned it in.
As like evidence, or?
Because, I don't know, I guess. The court doesn't really say why, but they basically took it in there and said, here's his Buddha back, because in response to all the unwanted attention that he'd been calling.
They said, we found this Buddha.
So yeah, we confiscated it, but here it is back.
Returns.
Yeah, we thought it might be a dangerous Buddha.
We thought it was a bomb or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Smiling Buddha.
Yeah, I know. 10 days after that, Rojas went to the courthouse in Baguio City where the Buddha was, and he was accompanied by a couple of bodyguards and a lawyer and miscellaneous reporters. And he examined the Buddha, and he said it was not the same Buddha that was taken from his house. He claimed its color was different. He said it had different facial features. Claimed the head was also not detachable. And so I'm not so sure about this because I've seen pictures of him. His brother took pictures of him with the gold Buddha. 2 pictures of him. They're kind of low resolution, but you can see the Buddha pretty clearly. I don't know if you guys ever saw those pictures.
No, I didn't.
And there's also one from the trial, will lead up to the trial of Imelda Marcos looking at a Buddha. It looks like the exact same Buddha to me. He claims that the facial features are different, so it looks like the exact same Buddha.
But do you know that the one that Imelda Marcos is in front of isn't the one that they were trying to return to him?
So that's the one that they were trying to return. He claimed was not the same as his original one. Right. But I've seen the pictures from before the Buddha was confiscated and then after, and they look exactly the same to me. Yeah. So. Well,
I mean, he did. He made some claims about markings on it from tests that were run and stuff, and I know that got refuted, and there's some controversy around that itself. But the fact that the head doesn't come off, if he said the head comes off, that's kind of an important thing.
Yeah, that would be kind of an important thing. But the thing about it is he could have been faking that too, because he had a hard time getting the head off. Or he originally didn't know for quite a long time that the head came off.
Yeah.
And if 10 guys are hauling it around, I've got to guess they knocked it over at least once by accident.
Yeah.
You would think the head would have popped off.
Maybe. It took him. He had to whack the head with a piece of like a 2x4 to get it to come off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he could have said, it comes off real easy, and then, it didn't come off.
Okay. I thought initially that the head was just loose.
No, it actually was hard to get off.
But the pictures do show that the head was off.
In one of the black and white pictures?
Yeah.
They do show that.
So that at least we know it did actually come off.
It did actually come off on the original Buddha. And again, the one that they left at the courthouse appeared to me to be the same.
Yeah, they look
They look
pretty similar.
They look pretty identical.
It's hard to tell with photo resolution of the time if the color is actually different, and it's a different angle, and there's like rope around the one in the black and white pictures versus the one in the court. There's not the rope.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell, lines that your eyes make without the rope. They might not make. It's hard to tell. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I personally think the one with the rope, you can still see enough features. Like, look at the pecs.
They're not the same.
They're not?
No, I'm looking at it right now. If you look at the one that he has, it's got, the line on your face that runs from the corner of your nose?
The nasolabial fold?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell you know that. But I actually, as I've looked at the photos, and I had to pull them up real quick just to double check, I kind of think that they look different. I mean, as we were saying, I see differences in the face.
It's hard to tell for me just because I think they hit me as two different images, right? But I can't say, well, see, in this image it's this, and this image is that, because the resolution is so low in the original two, and they're from a different angle than any of the other ones.
And
are
the
from.
style at the time, they're very stylistically similar.
Well, yeah, they're from the same era.
Yeah, they're very, very similar, but I see differences in the face. So I personally, I don't think they're the same one, just based on what I've seen in the photos.
I don't know what I think.
His brother Jose, who was there at the house when the police showed up and took it away, he testified years later. Of course, he looked at it and testified that it was the same Buddha. That's what his brother said. So yeah. So I know, confused.
Well, but they do. They look very, very similar. So.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, back to Rogelio. At this point, he went through kind of a difficult 3-year period. He was arrested, beaten, tortured with electric shocks. They wanted to sign papers, first of all, saying that the two Buddhas were the same, and they also wanted to know where he'd found it, because obviously, and the gold bars. Yeah, and he refused to talk. They let him go, but then he was rearrested. He managed to escape. He went into hiding for a while. Eventually was caught again. In 1973, he was convicted of possession of an illegal gun and unlawfully firing a revolver into the air. I don't know if that was true or not. I think the government had it in for him at this point in time, and so it might have been entirely bogus. But he went to jail for about 1.5 years. When he arrived home from prison in November 1974, back to Baguio City, he went by the treasure site, and he noticed soldiers were standing outside tents near the hospital, right at the treasure site,
where they had done their excavation.
Yeah, well, that's where they found the tunnels. Yeah, Rogelio at this point kind of figured they probably had found his treasure, and so he gave up on pressing his claims and didn't do anything more about it until after Marcos was deposed in 1986. Then he filed suit in March 1988 in Hawaii against both of the Marcoses for theft and also for human rights abuses. A lot of the information I'm going to show you here comes from the trial. As far as him seeing soldiers at the dig site, the treasure site, there were 2 witnesses that backed that up. They both worked at the hospital, and they both said that they saw a lot of soldiers and laborers digging around back there, and they said they saw them carrying out boxes or crates that appeared to be extremely heavy. It would be take 4 to 6 guys to carry one of these boxes. And one of them said actually one time that he saw a box get dropped and it broke open and a bunch of yellow bars came out of it. So that's
indicative of.
That kind of backs up Rogelio's story.
Yep.
Another guy named Robert Curtis owned a mining and refining business, and he said he was brought over to the Philippines at the behest of Marcos because he wanted him to melt down a bunch of gold bars to get rid of the hallmarks and cast new bars out of them. So he actually did some work for them in building a smelter. I don't know why they had to get him. There had to be somebody in the Philippines who was capable of doing this.
I'm wondering if it was the scale.
Yeah.
The scale of the operation.
Yeah, because apparently, he saw a room in the presidential palace that was 40 by 40 feet that was stacked to the ceiling with gold bars, he claims.
That's a pretty big scale.
Yeah.
That's a nice little bit of gold there. Yeah.
Although, if anybody that knows about the gold market, that much gold would flatten the economy globally.
You couldn't just dump it on the market all at once.
No.
You'd have to dribble it out a little bit at a time.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, we've assigned this random figure or value to gold. There is nothing special about gold. It's just this thing we all covet. So we give it this value, and when you flood the market with it, it's not worth anything anymore.
Yeah, I know.
So you're not going to be, I'm going to sell all the gold and become super rich. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to dribble it out a little at a time. It's probably a good way to attract less attention, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There were several other people who testified at the trial that they had also been shown rooms full of gold bars at both palaces. They had a summer palace and a regular palace. And,
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. One guy said he'd also been taken